be clear, you didn't do it.
We know who did it, Steve. We know. And we know who spearheaded this cover-up. You all know.
Yes, we do.
If John was beaten up and attacked in that house, who did it?
We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know. And it's not for us to know. Somebody other than Karen is responsible for that, for the killing of John.
Yeah. Roberta in the truth zone, mic hitting raw. Spotlight shining, she exposing the flaw. Debunking the myth, breaking their facade. This is Glass City, respect the squad. On these NYC blocks where the skyline flex big. Roberta Glass slicing lies with a truth rig. Innocence frosters, your stories unravel. She's a map through the madness of gritty gravel. Glass don't bend and facts don't break. She's a storm that's called, you feel the quake. Exposing tales stitched with crooked seams. Justice in the lens, shattered fake dreams. Screams about killers, painted heroes in disguise. She burning propaganda with fire in her eyes. No glamour for the guilty, she call it straight. She backs victims, the voice stay away. Stats and receipts, no spin, no clutter. Cold cases whisper, she cuts through the mutter. Truth's her tempo, don't confuse the beat. She's standing for the real while you taking a seat. True crime's a block, facts the artillery. Spinning those lies, yo, she checks that misery. Tabloid tales get smashed, no time to play. She's glass hard, break the false and save the day. True crime's a block, facts the artillery. Spinning those lies, yo, she checks that misery. Tabloid tales get smashed, no time.
Okay. Here we go. Well, it's looking more and more like a funeral for Karen Read and her side of the team every day. Now, I say this every day, but I just don't get it twisted. We may still see an acquittal. We may see another hung jury in this case. I am just reporting on what I'm seeing in court. From my point of view, innocence fraud campaigns are very powerful. And sometimes it doesn't matter what happens in court. And, you know, she still may walk away without taking any responsibility for her murder of John O'Keefe. So what was proved in court today, this was like a big deal last time. It was made such fun of. The fact that they put Karen Read's pieces of taillight in a paper bag, and the police officer said he put 2 pieces of Karen Read's taillight in this evidence bag, which is like a big paper bag, shopping bag. And afterwards, there were 3 pieces. So how do you think that happened? Now, the Free Karen Read people were like, whoa, you can't even control the evidence. What's going on? You put 2 pieces in and magically get 3. But obviously, it seemed logical to most of us that piece had broken off. That went down with pretty much little fanfare this time. And that was the beginning of today in court. But more importantly, in court, 2 big things happened, which is RIP the 227. This is the defense. The defense has pushed in the public domain, and the press has picked up on it and pushed it and pushed it and pushed it like it was a fact that they were arguing that Jennifer McCabe had done a 227 Google search of Haslong, because she got how wrong, HOS, how long to die in the cold at 2:27 a.m., which would be very suspicious as John O'Keefe were dying on the lawn of the Alberts home. However, when you listen to what the Commonwealth said, and their expert Ian Whiffen said on the stand, is that time search, and this is what Jen McCabe said, backs up what Jennifer McCabe said on the stand. I did that time search at Karen Read's request, because if you've been following this case, Karen Read can't do anything herself. She can't call 911 herself. She can't discover John for herself. She can't go back to the last place she left him for herself. She has to involve other people and mix in all these other people, mix it all up so she'll have someone else to blame. So she asked Jen McCabe to Google how long it takes to die in the cold. And Jen McCabe did this at 6:23 and 6:24 a.m. in the morning after they found John O'Keefe unresponsive on the Albert's lawn, the dark corner of the Albert's lawn. So today we had another expert, which we had last time, who was excellent. Jessica Hyde came in. And these are, very high caliber witnesses who say, no, this happened. Ian Whiffen testified that they had to change the misreading of this time search. This is when a browser was opened at 2:27, but the actual search was done at 6:23 and 6:24. We saw that. The defense tried to say that it was sloppily done. You couldn't trust any of this evidence. But if you can't trust any of the evidence, you can't trust the 227 browser open either. So it was a big fail by Alessi. I'm getting reports that the jury was very bored. During his cross-examination of forensic phone expert Jessica Hyde, however, the big shocker was the end of the day. And I wanted to show you all the clip that I've been waiting for, this has been Hank Brennan's genius in this trial to have Karen Read. And I'm not saying that Lally wouldn't have thought of it, but last time, Adam Lally, also prosecuting this case, tried to get these clips of Karen Read and Karen Read's own statements in. She's created a lot more, but the judge denied it. So this time round, the judge is letting all these statements in, and we got the Jen McCabe. It's either Jen McCabe's going down or I'm going down. Why is that so damning? Well, what it says is that Karen Read created, with her lawyers, this innocence fraud campaign to save her own skin. What I've been saying all along. I'm not going down for my own actions. I'd rather have a totally innocent person go down for what I did and be harassed and their family harassed. Someone's got to pay for what I did. It's not going to be me. Let's take a look at that clip. So this is what Hank Brennan ended on today. So I'm going in reverse, but I just think it's too important a clip to sit on. And the jury could not have missed it. It was the last thing they saw before they ended the day. So let's take a look at this clip. I put it on X.
Jen McCabe, it's me or her. Either I'm going down, Jen, or you are.
Let's listen again, shall we? One more time for those in the back.
Jen McCabe, it's me or her. Either I'm going down, Jen, or you are.
And so what the Free Karen readers are hoping for, they're saying, well, we hear Karen Read's legal defense team is going to play the longer version of that clip to add context. What context could you add to that clip to make it any better? Let me know what your thoughts are. I say they have a hard row to hoe ahead of them. So looking at Jessica Hyde, she also gave a presentation that made it crystal clear what she was talking about. Let's take a look at that. And she's saying, no. The browser was open at 2:27, but the search was done at 6:23 and 6:24 a.m. This is Jennifer McCabe's phone we're talking about. Karen Read had asked her that morning to Google search on the internet, how long it takes to die in the cold. Here's Jessica Hyde explaining that was a browser search open. And not only that, there was no deletions. Jen McCabe deleted nothing off her phone. It's really an important point. Nothing was deleted from Jennifer McCabe's phone. Unlike Karen Read, who handed over her phone initially, but when it came to the witness harassment case, when she had two phones communicating with Aiden Turtleboy Carney, the officer watched her phone board a plane to Sarasota, Florida. When she got back from Sarasota, Florida, she made the police officers wait 45 minutes until her dad showed up before she would hand over her phone. So there's been a discrepancy with Aiden Carney taking the fifth, Karen Read fleeing and before she could hand over her phones and making the police officer, where everyone on the other side that she's accusing is just testifying many times under oath. Karen Read herself won't testify under oath. She's happy to talk to the press, where it doesn't matter if you lie. There's no penalty for perjury for talking to the press. But when it comes to testifying under oath, Karen Read's lips are sealed. Now, the jury can't hold it against her, but me as a person viewing the case, I'm not under those same kind of restrictions. The jury has to keep an open mind. I can have an opinion, and my opinion is that's very damning, that she wants to talk so much to the press and not testify. So it's been a real contrast between the witnesses that they're accusing of doing these, being part of a conspiracy, a 50-person plus conspiracy to kill John O'Keefe and cover it up, and Karen Read, the people they're accusing of being conspiratorial and secret, have been very open, testified very openly, handed over their phones willingly. Now, the Free Karen Reader will say, well, they got lawyers. Well, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? I would. Certainly when you have like a pitchforky mob of the public coming after you, it's not a bad idea if you can afford it to get a lawyer. So here's Jessica Hyde talking about the phone search happening at 6:23 and 6:24 a.m. and nothing being deleted from Jen McCabe's phone. Take a listen.
What I can state to a scientific degree of certainty is that search occurred at 6:24 a.m. and was the last search in the tab that had been opened at 2:27.
Do you have an opinion to a degree of scientific certainty whether there was any other searches similar to How's Long to Die in the Cold that evening on that tab?
Your Honor.
May I first inquire, you meant morning, I
I'm sorry,
assume?
that morning, yes.
Just clarifying, I did not look at evening searches. And can you repeat? I apologize. I disrupted my own train of
Do you have
thought.
an opinion to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty whether there were any other searches on that tab before the final search at 6:24:47, How's Long to Die in Cold?
Just ensuring that I have the question correct.
Please.
You're asking if what else occurred in that tab prior?
Yes.
That I cannot say with a clear degree of certainty.
Okay. Did you develop a chalk that I showed
I
you
did.
earlier?
Yes.
Like to approach?
Yes.
Again, I show you. Same document, you recognize it?
Yes.
What is it?
It is the exhibit that I created that was labeled Table 1 in the first report I had delivered.
And does that provide information that will assist us in understanding your opinion?
Yes.
I'd move subject to redaction that this be introduced into evidence.
Your Honor, I have no issue with regard to the redacting aspect, but consistent with my prior objections, I would object to that.
Okay, I'm going to allow this into evidence. You're right to say it.
Thank you, Your Honor. Appreciate it.
Madam Clerk, 82? Thank you. With the court's permission, I'd like to show Exhibit 82 to the jury.
Okay?
Could we enlarge the first two? And we're going to need to get the right column in if we can, please. Thank you. Ms. Hyde, can you see it from there?
I can. Thank you.
If you can walk us through how this exhibit assists us in understanding your explanation and the basis for your opinion.
This exhibit shows the Safari artifacts and artifacts of Google searches in Safari related to the two searches in question, How Long to Die in CILKD and How's Long to Die in Cold, that occurred on the morning of November 29th, 2022 on the device under examination.
If I look at this chart and I see in the top left, it says 2:27:40 a.m. And then under the search term, it says How's Long to Die in Cold. How do I understand your opinion that that search didn't happen at 2:27:40?
This document is showing you the data that is the parsed result. The source of that artifact that you see in the last column is a little bit cut off, the browser state db-wall file. That database does store how the data is stored, the search term How's Long to Die in Cold with an associated MAC absolute epoch timestamp that translates to 2:27 a.m. That is what is physically stored. That does not annotate the meaning of that artifact. That was determined through testing following the NIST OSAC data generation guidelines for testing.
In the second row, we see a timestamp on the left-hand column, 6:23:49. And it provides artifact to cache record.
Mm-hmm.
What is the term and what does that mean under the search term?
iOS Safari cache records. A cache refers to something that a computer program wants quick and easy access to. When we search on our phones, anything, a lot of times, be it in Google or in Safari, depending on what type of phone you own, it'll suggest what it thinks you're going to type in, right? So you can click it. It's trying to be helpful. In this instance, at 6:23:49, we have a cache record that indicates that Apple suggested the phrase, how long does it take to digest food?
And then under that,
So does everybody see how similar this is to Ian Whippen's testimony? So Adam Lally was really smart. Last trial, we saw these same witnesses. The same evidence was presented. The difference here is that if you're not paying attention, you can miss these witnesses or you can misunderstand them. It's really hard for the press to miss the salient points of Karen Read's trial when Karen Read is narrating her own trial. So if you're not paying attention, you lead with the clips. And every day it's been one damning clip after another. You couldn't miss this. I mean, you just can't miss Karen Read saying it's Jen McCabe or myself. It's what I've been saying all along. She created this innocence fraud to save herself. And the irony is, this group talks all about innocent until proven guilty, not for Jen McCabe, not for anyone else. Grab the pitchforks and get the mob when it's just merely suggested without any proof, even before a trial. Show up at court. I mean, just hear that Karen Read has little support at court. So this is the way this went down. I'm going to just show a little bit more of this, and then we can get to Alessi's cross.
At 6:23:51, it appears it says a recent web search, and the spelling is changed. How long? TIDIEINCIKD.
So this, in reference to these two search terms, this is the first actual search that occurs at 6:23:51 a.m. Upon beginning the typing of that phrase, Apple provided the suggested search, and the person inputting into the phone at that time continued to type out a phrase and finished it as how long, TIDINCIKD, which that is available to us in the mobile Safari P list, which tracks recent web searches. And then we'll see 6 seconds later, we get that reference in that Knowledge C database that I mentioned before. That's the next line. So that's the Knowledge C database is Apple's way of keeping knowledge about what the user's doing. It sees and holds your knowledge. It's an easy way to remember it. That's what I teach my students. So that Knowledge CDB tracks a lot of things for predictive purposes. And so 6 seconds later, it's logging that same search. So that search is being tracked in 2 places.
And so one search can be left as artifacts in different locations on the database?
Correct. There can be multiple traces or artifacts of the same user action in different places on a mobile device.
And if we go down to the bottom, the last column, at 6:24:47, we again see "How's long to die in cold?" And if you look in the first column, it's the same phrase. Is that a coincidence that it appears at the bottom at 6:24:47 and also appears up at 2:27:40?
As mentioned before, through testing of the artifact for Browser State DB, that artifact will hold the most recent search that happened in the tab. So it is logical that HOS long to die in cold was searched at 6:24:18, tracked in that mobile Safari P list, repeated in Knowledge C, Knowledge made its tracking in Knowledge CDB, and then that table for Browser State DB, which again has the time that the tab was opened or the last time it was backgrounded, and updated just the website that was visited. So the website, that is why we get that 2:27 time. That's actually, as far as the data storage is, the first thing I have in there, because I want to put it in chronological time order for exhibit purposes, is actually the last thing to happen because it's the update to what's in the tab.
You offered that the "how's long to die in cold" is the last thing to happen. Do you have an opinion to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty the time when that search was made?
Objection, Your Honor.
To a reasonable degree of certainty, I can say that "how's long to die in cold" was searched at approximately 6:24 a.m.
Now, moving on from the 2:27 search, there are 2.
Okay, so we're moving on. That seems like you could hear Alessi objecting. We had a long sidebar where he tried to bring in and a break where the judge looked up different case histories, and he wanted to bring up unrelated stuff. He won partially. It just all seemed ridiculous, but it didn't really make any difference on the stand. And Jessica Hyde, who was very pleasant last time round, showed no love for Alessi, and Alessi's snarky and very nerdy, really very nerdy and persnickety, like just, trying to find any kind of discrepancy in the data. One thing that he found was that the Jessica Hyde used Eastern Standard Time and another time, general, international time that apparently they use case law. Yeah, she was looking up case law, the judge, not case histories. That's what I meant. And, it just didn't make any difference. Whether it's 11:3 Greenwich main time or whatever she was using that's generally used among forensic searchers, or Eastern Standard Time. It's the same time. It didn't make any difference. I want to thank, for supporting the channel, Anna Quint, Patricia Sullivan, Tammy Shepard, Carol Holderman. I want to thank Mary for upping her Patreon support. Thank you. You make this channel and these live streams possible. If you want to support the channel, the links are in the episode of this description. You can become a Patreon member and get access to content you won't get anywhere else, or great other ways to support the channel. Shoot me a Venmo, buy me a coffee, link in the description of this episode. Okay, going on to Leslie. Here, he starts to suggest that Jessica Hyde doesn't know whose phone it is. This is a great example of the back and forth between them. Take a listen.
Under relevant findings.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with, there were 2 searches of interest that took place on the iOS device, and we're talking about Jennifer McCabe's device, correct?
The device that was identified to me as Jennifer McCabe's.
Yes. That's identified to you as Jennifer McCabe. And it's what you talked about on direct examination as her device, right?
Yes.
It's not a mystery as to whose it is. It's not like you don't know, right?
In direct, I also use the phrase identified to me as Jennifer McCabe's.
Right. But your conclusion is the device you've been working on and analyzing for 2 years is the device of Jennifer McCabe.
That is how it was identified to me.
Do you have a different conclusion as to whose device it is?
I always am very, very careful that I did not assess the ownership. That was information that was given to me, not information that I personally assessed.
So are you uncertain as to whether the device you've been working on for 2 years is the phone of Jennifer McCabe?
The device that I've been working on for 2 years is the device that was identified to me by the Massachusetts State Police, Detective Tolley, as belonging to Jennifer McCabe when I began working and received that device, as stated in the evidence analyzed section on this same page.
So let's go, and we're talking about, again, to get back to the center of gravity, we're talking about a timestamp of 2:27:40 a.m., correct?
That is correct.
And when you issued your first report in May of 2023, the timestamp you were looking at was 2:27:40 a.m., January 29, correct?
I was looking at multiple timestamps associated with the same 2 searches.
Right. So what I'd like to do, you said multiple timestamps. What times are in the multiple category?
What I was tasked to do was to look at the times, the search, the Google search history, I'm sorry, not Google search history, the Safari history, which includes Google searches, associated with those 2 search terms within that 12-hour period. That was the particular task, not the task of looking at the 227, just for clarity.
Right. And I appreciate that, but my question wasn't that. My question was, I thought I heard you on direct examination, which is.
She's like, look, they gave me 12-hour. When was this search done in this 12-hour period? She's like, not done at 2:27. RIP. They are holding on to this. Their case is crumbling, and they're not sure whether they are going to bring up McNasty Green, Richard Green, their forensic phone expert with a criminal history. He was drinking at McNasty's bar. That's why I call him McNasty's Green, when he got into an altercation, grabbed a waitress, and then fell to the ground, and then accused 2 men of punching him. He had to plead out on that. They're not sure whether they're going to call him. I mean, try calling him after this and see how, I mean, just so it gives you, just so you can give, there's his mugshot, Richard Green. I mean, try calling him after this. Jessica Hyde. But what a tit, I mean, just what a back and forth there was. I was going to say tit for tat, but not really. It was just like a real uncomfortable feeling. And this is a very pleasant witness to both sides. And she did not take to Leslie. And You can see it in this
Which
testimony,
is why I repeated
in this cross.
the question, what I thought I heard on direct, but I'll ask you the question.
Sure.
You looked at and talked about on direct 2 potential times for a Safari search, which includes Google.
Thank you, Dean Walker. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. I appreciate it. Thank you, JMS. Appreciate it.
Google, one of which was 2:27:40 and the other one was 6:23 a.m. Is that correct?
I analyzed the meaning of those 2 timestamps.
Right. So we're just talking about 2 times, 2:27:40 and then 6:23. Is that correct?
So you are only talking then about the one that we're also talking about 6:24 a.m.
Okay. So we
Eastern
got
time for clarity, because some of these records are in UTC, some are in local.
fair enough. So you've got 2:27:40, you've got 6:23, and you got
Right. Correction, UTTC. Like, excuse me. Greenwich Mean Time, UTTC, another time zone. There we go.
6:24 that you were looking at, correct?
There are other timestamps that exist in the realm of what I was looking at, but those ones, correct, are the ones that are relevant in this report.
Exactly. And that's what we're talking about.
Okay,
We're just
just-
talking about this report.
Yes.
And so if you look under relevant findings, at the very bottom paragraph, you say, second sentence, a Google search for how long to die cold at approximately 11:23 a.m. And then how long TIDIE in cold took place at 11:24.
That is in UTC. I apologize for not having the timestamp format there, but that is the UTC time. The UTC time equivalent in Eastern local time would be 6:23 and 6:24.
So to be clear, in your report, you wrote 11:23 a.m. and 11:24, and you didn't put UTC next
Correct.
to it, did
They
you?
should, you are correct. That should say UTC. That is a typo.
And there's a significant difference between 11:23 and 2:27:40, correct?
11:23 is UTC, so its equivalent in Eastern time would be 6:23. The artifact of 2:27 is already in local time, so that is in Eastern time. So what we would be comparing is 2:27 and 6:23 and 6:24 to be appropriate. They're taking into account the data storage and which ones are in UTC and which ones are in local time.
I understand your explanation now,
Perfect.
but in this report, there is no UTC time down. You have 2 additional times in addition to the 2 times, 2 different numbers added to the 2, correct?
The UTC was a typo. It should say UTC next to those. And the chart shows all of those artifacts in EST and is clearly labeled that they're all in EST.
So you would agree that it's better stated to state it a different way than you have in your report?
I would say that both are equivalent. I should have had UTC there. But yes, it's easier for the
I mean, how is the jury taking this? Thank you, my nerdy berating counselor. I mean, how are they taking it? It's not helping. Small overlook typo in the report does not an innocent person make, but okay. I mean, if Karen Read wants to take that as a huge win, go ahead. But I don't think so. Thank you, Barb Nauman, for supporting the stream. I appreciate it.
the audience to speak in EST. I would say forensics examiners typically communicate in UTC, but we translate for our reports. And I should have either communicated that in EST or included UTC. I will definitely contend that.
So in terms of your May 2023 report, your first report in this matter,
Yes.
you on page 5,
Mm-hmm.
in the sentence underneath the block paragraph state, in the instance of the Google search, house long to die in cold that was recovered from the right ahead log associated with.
That's correct.
The X browser stage with a timestamp of 2027:40 a.m. was marked by Celebrite as having this timestamp and being deleted. Did I read that correctly?
You read that correctly.
Now let's move ahead to page 7 of your report.
Mm-hmm.
Up at the top above conclusion. Importantly, at this time, you state, testing shows great inconsistency with timestamps parsed from this file. It is, however, definitive that the page existed in a tab.
Correct.
While a definitive reason as to why the timestamp is listing the time of 2:27:40 is unknown, the time is inconsistent with the timestamps associated with the same search. Did I read that correctly?
You did read it correctly.
Right. So I'm going to emphasize the things that maybe might bring out reasonable doubt. And then I'm going to talk really fast over the things that just negated everything I just said. It's inconsistent with the rest of the data. We just looked at it. I don't think this is a very young jury. They're all under 45. I think they're going to get it. I will not beat a dead horse like Alessi did. People are sending me messages like Alessi's going to be found guilty of animal cruelty for beating a dead horse much in this trial. Apparently the jury does not take well to him. I find him very boring, but he's doing this pro bono for Karen Read, and I don't think he's doing very well. I don't think Karen Read is doing very well. That's where we're at. That was what are we at? Day 11 today? Wasn't great for Karen Read every day. I wouldn't be surprised if she left the court without saying much. Again. I mean, her whole strategy. So, I see a lot of lawyers just before I go. I'm going to keep it brief, short and sweet tonight. But I see a lot of lawyers say, well, I don't understand why her lawyers let her make all these statements. No, her lawyers sought out the press. This was their strategy. Originally, Karen Read said, I'm not ever going to trial with this. It's to get the public so hyped up about her quote unquote innocence that the Commonwealth would drop the charges. When that didn't happen, they thought they would put enough pressure on the courts from the outside to poison the jury pool, get free Karen Readers on the jury pool. It seemed to work first time. We got a hung jury. It wasn't really a win. We're still back at 0 for both sides. But certainly just watching this trial, it's just looking each day. We haven't seen the defense's case yet, and we're just in the Commonwealth's case. It seems to be Hank Brennan's putting on a strong, unbreakable case. Does that mean Karen Read's going to be convicted of murder too? I don't know. I'm not going to predict which way a jury's going to go. This innocence fraud campaign has been very powerful, and our press has joined in on it. So it could go any way, but it's every day it's looking worse and worse for Karen Read and better for justice for the O'Keefe family. And let's see how it turns out. If it's a fair jury, it's an untouched jury by this innocence fraud campaign, she may be convicted of something. We'll see. See how it goes. I'll be live streaming tomorrow back at 9 a.m. Usually on a little before 9 a.m. Hold on. Sorry. My boyfriend's yelling at me. Be back on a little before 9 a.m. and we can watch the day 12 together and see what other clips. A lot of these clips we haven't seen. A lot more clips to be shown. But Who do they have? ARCA witnesses? I don't think they're going to do too well in cross, but let's see. Today also, before I go, good to mention that this was the cutoff date for ARCA to hand in their report. If anything was talked about amongst the lawyers, it was all done at sidebar. We'll see what happens tomorrow. They're ahead of schedule. They're moving along. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for listening. And I'll see you all tomorrow morning.
I hit my boyfriend with my car. It wasn't an accident, but with lying lawyers I'll go far. Lying lawyers and witness harassment. I'll avoid prison. It was snowing. I pushed the pedal down, hit him hard. Now the legal system I clown. Innocence fraud campaign to save my skin. Making money, truth is my second victim. Carry, carry, Jen, Jen, like John, you were my mom. My innocence fraud campaign is my biggest hit. Yeah. I hit my boyfriend with my car. It wasn't an accident, but with lying lawyers I'll go far. Lying lawyers and witness harassment. I'll avoid prison. It was snowing. I pushed the pedal down, hit him hard. Now the legal system I clown.